Time keeps on leaving and we keep on moving. When do we pass on our wisdom to the youth? My veteran story, lost arts discussions, fireside chats with a bourbon or two. It's time to hear the stories by military veterans. Get yourself ready. It's the Lost Arts Podcast. The Lost Arts with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast. That podcast has given a voice to our veterans. On today's episode, we'll have a My Veteran Story with Marine veteran Jamil Dudley. But before we get into the episode, are you enjoying the podcast and consider becoming a TLA patron? That's the Lost Arts patron. It's through donations that we are able to continue recording the podcast and getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Just go to the Lost Art website and click on the Become a Patron link at the top. If becoming a TLA patron doesn't work for you and you would rather give a one-time donation, then go to the Lost Art website and scroll down until you see the donations link. Any donation is appreciated. And if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast and tell your veteran story, then email me directly at thelostartwithandrewcox@gmail.com. And as always, we do have merchandise for sale. So if you go to the website, click on that merchandise tab, it's going to take you to the link that has our merchandise. We have hats, we have shirts, we have all kinds of goodies. So if you want to help support, go ahead and get you some merchandise and spread the love of this podcast. All right, with that, I have Jamil Dudley here. Jamil, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, Andrew?
Man, I can't complain. It's another day. And even though we're across the world from each other, you and Oki and me here in Virginia, it's great that we can connect like this.
Yeah. I feel the same way, man. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I was able to, communicate with you. So.
Yeah. 2000. We were saying 2009 a while ago, around that time frame.
Yeah, last time. Yeah, I think we both went to DI. Were we in the same DI school?
I believe so. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and then I ended up leaving in like 2010. So I think when did we go to DI school? When was that?
That's a good question. 2000, was it 8, 9, 8? So no, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was 2008, 8, 9, 10. No, it was 2007.
Ooh.
2007.
I lose track of all that, man.
Tour, right? Yeah. I ended up doing a 3-year tour down there. So yeah, it was 2007. I was right off of Afghan deployment.
Oh, okay.
Literally, just you could probably still see the dirt in my ears from Afghan, and came straight to the drill field from there. Man, I was requesting prior to going to Afghanistan, because I needed a B billet anyway. I was already a staff sergeant. To be a drill instructor, I would have been a horrible. I saw myself as a horrible pick for a recruiter. But a lot of recruiters, a lot of people actually said you're a walking, talking recruiting poster. I mean, just the way you carry yourself, and you know how Marines are. But I was like, there's certain aspects of the recruiting is a different stress. And I thought I was cut out more for the drill field, more so than the recruiting. Two different hemispheres, two different stresses, but they both have a tremendous amount of stress, and getting a what do they call it, a successful tour on either one of them.
Yeah, very difficult. Yeah.
That is a feather in your cap right there. If you get out of there unscathed, you won't get out of there unscathed, but if you get a successful tour.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, you won't see the benefits while you're there, but once you get out of there with a successful tour, the benefits are just numerous. The people that you met, the ties that you met, or the connections that you met. Yeah, it propelled me from there to keep going.
I was the same way, man. Same way. And I wasn't God's gift to drill instructors, I can tell you that.
I was. But you came in there with I don't want to go too far into the drill instructor aspect. I'll tell you this much about being on the drill field right there. I would have went back to combat at any given time, if they would have tried us back to the drill field, I mean, it was great because we were making the next generation of Marines. But the portions of it, I mean, there was just so many things that were going on and so many things that you had to fight. I got more sleep in combat, literal combat, than I did on the drill field. You know, I mean, it was a real. And then, I mean, all of you were Fox Company. Were you Fox Company?
Yeah, Fox. Yeah.
How many hats we lost? I mean, like we lost a lot of hats. I mean, like literally getting sat down or whatever, or you know, bad conduct, just all types of stuff. So it was right after what was his name? Because we ended up having to do a case study on him. You remember that one drill instructor before we actually went there? That ended
I don't remember the
like
name though.
87, like like assault charges on him or something of that nature. Yeah. But anyway, the Marine Corps was doing what it was supposed to be doing. It was trying to get back on track from where they were. And we were, I would say, we were the casualties of it, to where it was just like, now we're under a microscope. Everything that you were taught as far as the hidden movements, you're not allowed to do anymore. Okay, now go out there and do it. You know, and do everything per the SOP, even though we know that your mission will far exceed what you can and cannot do in the SOP. It was just like, okay, wait a second, we got 7 minutes to get a herd of, and remember, we were building up to 224,000.
That's right.
Because of the war, right? So we weren't having those 60 body herds. We were having, I mean, we had no crack alley. We had literal, like, just body upon body upon body of recruits in there. And we would have to get them up in, I'd say, about 6 minutes, get them dressed, a whole bunch of individuals who don't speak our language, our Marine Corps language, get them up, get them dressed, get their racks made, and get them to a hatch time for chow within 7 minutes. 100 individuals, no question. You know, it was trying. It was definitely trying.
I always say it was the best worst 3 years of my life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there were some times I was like, yeah, I'm proud, especially during graduation or the Eagle Globe and Anchor ceremony. There were times, I mean, you could see how it was affecting these young people. I remember saying one thing to one of these recruits. You know, it was just like, it was almost like a quote from, and don't forgive me, because I mean, we're about the same age, so you kind of remember or can understand where I'm coming from on this one. This quote, and I'll probably be quoting a whole bunch of different people. None of this stuff is original. It's just words or sayings that resonate with me. If someone says it better, you can borrow that. I would say borrow that without it, as long as you give them credit that you're not the one that said it, was somebody else. But it was like Rambo. Like, we grew up watching Rambo in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Rambo, Mission in Action, even like what is that one Vietnam Marine Corps movie that everybody loves and hates at the same time? Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
I mean, we were built. Our generation was built totally different. I mean, totally. I mean, not only on the propaganda side, as far as how we view things, because we're coming off of Vietnam, which a lot of people, almost everybody says, was like a lost cause or the first war we ever lost. And then we were pumped with, I mean, we had cartoons like G.I. Joe, and then, like I said, Rambo and all these things. I mean, you and me, probably as kids, as teenage, or not even teenagers, preteens, we were playing war.
Oh, yeah.
We were kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that was everywhere in the United States. You know, even so far to go back to say we were playing cowboys and Indians at some points as well. You know, so it was just, we were bred for that type of stuff. So going back to what I was saying, I get off track every now and then.
No, you're good, man.
I said something to a recruit. I said, you know, what you see here or what you have become here was already inside you. All we did was chip off the pieces and clear away the rough edges, you know. And that was something that Colonel Troutman actually said to Rambo. It was just like, we didn't create this monster. We didn't create this killing machine, this perfection of warfare. It was already in you. And like Picasso, or not even Picasso, but Leonardo da Vinci, it was a solid brick of marble, and all we did was chip away the unused pieces to reveal who you actually were in the first place. You know, things like that. You know, resonate.
That was good.
There were good things on the drill field, but there were some. I mean, drill instructors falling asleep on their feet and knocking out all of their teeth, like literally on their feet. They're standing here and they're getting briefed at parade rest, and all of a sudden it's just like, whoop, bam, gone. You know, I fell asleep a couple of times just standing up.
Yeah, me too.
Drill instructors falling asleep and crashing into the flagpole while they're driving. Somebody flipped their car on the I-5 or the 15, trying to get into work. There were so many times that I was driving home because we ended up buying a property up in Temecula, that I had to pull over on the 15 and go to sleep. And I get woken up by like California State Patrol, and they'll see the uniform and the hat, and they were like, "Hey, we understand, but you just can't sleep here. Next time, try to make it to the next exit." And I was like, "Sir, there was no way I was going to make it to the next exit. I was just done." You know.
Yeah.
You're still married, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Same wife and everything.
Oh yeah.
Okay, outstanding. That makes two of us. You know.
Yeah. See.
If you don't remember, when I was running, what was it? What do we call it? ITC?
Yeah. ITC.
I ended up running ITC for my quota portion. So the pool, you know, the obstacle course, the house of knowledge. I had about 24 drill instructors because the dojo or the martial arts program fell under me as well. That dojo, the fishes, the swim guys fell under me, and then IT or the house of knowledge fell under me. I had 24 drill instructors there. I think 20 of them, including the captain I was with, 20 of them were all married, including myself. Only me and the captain were not going through divorce.
Wow.
All of them, every single one of them, got divorced while they were on the drill field. You know, it was, the numbers were staggering. It was that bad. You know, my wife actually told me it was because I lost when I came. Like I said, I was coming off the drill field. Holy crap! This whole episode is going to be about the drill field. No, I'll switch it up.
We'll get to the other stuff. Don't worry about it.
I show up to DI school, 230 pounds, about 6% body fat, coming from Afghanistan, running in the highest mountains in the world, wearing full combat load times 4, chasing guys that were wearing maybe a bandolier and 6 magazines. And we're chasing them on foot through the highest mountains in the world, in the Hindu Kush, all this stuff. So I was fit. I was literally in the best shape of my life. I come to the drill field. We go through what we refer to as 4th phase boot camp, because they have to break our mentality in some aspects, because we have to understand that we got treated like recruits at DI school, and there was a purpose. Everything that the Marine Corps does, there's a purpose behind it. You got to be humble enough to understand what their purpose was. But 230 pounds, 6% body fat, I was a beast. By the end of my first cycle, so DI school was 3 months, and then I say the middle of my first cycle, I said less than 6 months later, I was 180 pounds.
Yeah.
My wife, when I first came home, my wife saw me, and I didn't know this until she told me later. She went into the bathroom and started crying. She could see my ribs.
Wow.
My eyes were sunken in. I didn't even realize that I looked as like that. She said I looked like an Ethiopian marathon runner. But but the only reason why I realized I didn't really realize that I was that thin from there, but obviously I had to get all my Charlie uniforms like changed, my sleeves and everything. I had to get those taken in and so on and so on. I was like, what happened? I don't remember being, that that was, I mean, we were eating nothing, like literally eating
That's
nothing.
no joke. Yeah.
There was times where our sister series was like short on drill instructors. And remember, what was that, a 13-kilometer hike?
The one on up at Pendleton?
Yeah, during second phase or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So, and I was a kill hat. So during those 13 kilometers, there's one thing that, I mean, honor, courage, commitment. That is our hallmark, right? There's one thing I would not do, and I would not lighten my pack. As a drill instructor, I would never lighten but my pack was just as heavy as all the recruits. If a recruit would have bumped into me and found out that my pack was filled with pillows or something, or picked it up, and there goes my integrity, right? So my pack was just as heavy, sometimes even heavier, to prove a point. But as a kill hat, what was our job during that whole
run around?
Yeah, from the front to the back. Now you got a 90 herd thing, and you're screaming the whole way.
Yep.
So instead of doing 13 kilometers, if we do simple math, you did 26 kilometers running back and forth with full combat load on you, screaming the whole way. I got our platoon up there, had them drop their gear, had the docs check their socks. They said we needed another drill instructor at the beginning to help our sister series hump up there. I ran to the dock, got 2 IVs of lactated ringers, ripped them open, shrunk them, threw my pack on, ran back, and did the exact same thing back.
Wow.
Why do I have
That's
2 hip surgeries?
Yeah. Because of that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's not to mention not having a break coming back from Afghanistan. I mean, like, Afghanistan was just the pinnacle of my career. I still think about that. There were some really, I mean, the Marine Corps will put you in situations that they prepare you for, but that statement of a Marine being a rifleman first and foremost just echoed with me for the longest, and then that literally proved what the Marine Corps was about. Do you remember what my MOS was?
No.
So my MOS was chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear warfare.
No kidding.
Otherwise known as NBC, probably back in
yeah.
So nuclear, biological, chemical warfare, right? When I went to Afghanistan, I went as an IA, individual augment. Okay. And the Marine Corps is notorious or famous for this type of stuff. Individual augments basically, God, man, I love the Marine Corps. The mentality of the Marine Corps is unlike anything in any of the other branches, I personally believe. The mentality, some of the things that an IA group does, and this isn't something new. This isn't something that the Marine Corps just created at that time frame. We had IAs in Vietnam. We had IAs, I believe, even in Korea. They would take a small group of Marines and they would embed them in a village in Vietnam, per se. And those Marines would literally go native in some aspects. They'd eat what that village ate. They did everything that village did, became part of the community, but they taught them how to defend themselves and set up different things. So when I went to Afghanistan, that's basically what we did. And we were and that was in 2006. We were some of the first Americans into parts of like what was it? Where were we? The Patika province. I mean, one of the villages that we actually went into, some of the Afghan like what do you call it, village elders thought I was from Africa. They didn't know that
Really?
there were Americans in the U.S. and they literally said, "You're the first ones ever here, ever." I ended up switching. I used to carry a was a pilot knife. I ended up trading that for a machete that an elder ended up giving me, and it looked like a machete. It had rust and everything on it. It looked like a machete that was made out of an old school like leaf spring from like a 5 ton or a deuce and a half, something of that nature, right? And from what he told me, it was
Wow.
like this machete has chopped off the heads of like 8 like British officers from way back in the day, from way back in the day. So I was like, whoa. I mean, we were in places that I don't think any Americans have gone before. I'm pretty sure have gone before, but have never went before. After we were taking over positions like in the heart of Taliban countries or territory, and like holding them and like putting like setting up defensive positions for the Afghan National Army to actually take over. In that 1 year that I was over there, we did 80 over close to 100 LPOPs in enemy territory that we actually established and held. What's my MOS again? CBRN. What the hell? They don't have nuclear weapons. They don't have chemical weapons. They don't have any of that trash. When they picked me for that job, they were looking for a combat or what was it? What is that called? Combat Arms MOS, which CBRN did. And we were, I was the closest thing to a 0311. I was, at that time, I was the staff sergeant for 4th Marines. I was their company gunnery sergeant for 4th Marines Infantry, the China Marines, matter of fact, that were stationed at And yeah, they were like, "Yep, we want you." And the rest is history. Some of the things I did out there, some of the things I was taught to do prior to, and then while I was there, just was eye-opening. It's just like, okay, have you ever detonated C4? Do you know how to set a line charge? Do you know how to do this? No. Okay, let me show you. 45-minute class. I'm walking out of the class in Afghanistan with just bandoliers of freaking C4. Look like big taffy like bars.
Right. Yeah.
Stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's get it done. Oh yeah, remember, don't crimp the blasting cap with your teeth or you blow your mouth. I was like, okay, good to go. Yeah, let me get those flowers. Things like that. Making claymore mines out of ammo cans.
Wow.
All types of things. I pulled on every piece of knowledge that I got from, remember, I went to MCT. I didn't go to SOI. I went to MCT. Everything I learned in boot camp and MCT and what I taught myself coming up through the ranks, because it was harped on us at that time, every Marine is a rifleman. Remember the green books? The what was it? The BSTs? Battle skills.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you
battle skills studies or something like that?
Looked at what? Because they had it broken down by rank. And this is like synonymous for all Marines. What a corporal in the United States Marine Corps was supposed to be able to do. And I read what that was. Sergeant, staff sergeant, gunnery sergeant. I was staff sergeant at that time, so I had to know what a staff sergeant would be able to do all the way through that. And that was from small or single envelopments to, hasty ambushes, complex ambushes, all of that stuff. And I used to train my Marines in my platoon prior to Seaburn guys or whoever in machine gun drills and stuff. Like, why are we doing this? Hey, Marines are riflemen first and foremost, and then I get to Afghanistan on this thing and all that stuff comes to bear. It was iconic to me. But anyway, going back, I'll start with
Let's go back all the way to the beginning. This has been fantastic, and we can get into more of that as we move forward. But where did you grow up, and then what brought you to military service?
Roger that. So I was born in Paterson, New Jersey. That's upstate New Jersey, about 15 minutes away from the George Washington Bridge, going into like New York, New York. So my father was in the Navy for 32 years.
Wow.
He retired the same year I went into the Marine Corps. Growing up, I cannot claim one place because let's run down where I've lived. So born in Paterson, New Jersey, lived in Norfolk, Virginia, Miami, Florida, Massachusetts. Father gets stationed in San Diego. So then I'm in San Diego. And at that time in the 80s, he becomes a company commander, which was the equivalent of a Marine Corps drill instructor. At that time, MCRD, in like 80, 85 timeframe, MCRD was actually split in half. There was MCRD and there was MCT or NTC, Navy Training.
Yeah.
Right? My father was a drill instructor there. He used to dress me and my brother up in camis, and we used to run around in his platoon over there. So MCRD was not, when it, fast forward 20 years later, MCRD, I knew what MCRD was all about. So yeah, graduated high school out of San Diego. I was a Navy brat, so I lived on the East Coast, the West Coast. Maybe that's the reason why I don't really have an accent. You know, it's just when someone says, "Where are you from?" I'm like, America. I mean, where have I not? I'm not East Coast. I'm not West Coast. I've been in the South. I mean, what am I supposed to say? So obviously he was a big influence on me actually joining the military. Matter of fact, I knew I was going to join the military. I wanted to join the Navy though. I was dead set on the Navy, and I would say about 7 or 8 years old. My father told me this story, and I barely remember it. I had a little girlfriend in like elementary school or whatever, preschool. And I told her, yeah, I'm going to be a pilot in the Navy. And she was like, no, you're going to die. I don't want you to do that, so on and so forth. And I was like, well, if you don't want me to join the Navy, I guess we're going to have to break up. And that's what I did. I broke up with her. Whatever, because I was like, I'm joining the Navy. So at that time, in the 80s, Miramar belonged to the Navy. And that's where Top Gun was filmed.
Yep.
That's where Fightertown, USA was. I used to go to the actual air shows with my father, and he used to acquire, I don't know exactly where he got them, these Janeway almanac books, which were about this big, like this thick. And they had every aircraft that McDonnell Douglas or anybody built in the United States for the military. Janeway, like almanac, like aircraft. And I used to study those. I mean, I could tell you anything about F-14s, SR-71 Blackbird, all the way up to that level. F-14s, 15s, the Warthog, the A-10s, all of that stuff. So I was really, really serious on becoming a pilot. My father, on the other hand, like I said, he was a company commander. He one day takes me out camping. It's me and my one of my closest friends, my best friends, and he sees me out there patrolling with a BB gun, and in the dead of night with no lights on, just me and him out there, just snooping and pooping with a BB gun. And he says, "There's something in you, son, where I believe the Marine Corps is a better fit than the Navy." My father, I learned more Marine Corps history from my father than I did in boot camp about Marine Corps. He was spot on and now that I mentioned it, I remember sitting in some of his classes in the back while he's teaching his sailors about Marines. He was like, yeah, when you're on the ship, the bars that you actually close the water seal the doors, you know, those things, they call them devil dogs. And the reason why they call them devil dogs is because they're so tough. And obviously,
wow.
his name is Double Dog, right? That reminds me of another funny story. So during the time that he's as a company commander, he ends up getting a call. You remember, MCRD and MCT is split in half here. He ends up getting a call, and I remember his introduction to his recruits, his boots that he was pushing. He was like, "Okay, look, I don't want any of you nasty civilians in my Navy in the first place, and I know you're going to try to escape, so I'm going to give you the lay of the land." He was like, "In that direction over there, if you jump over that fence, that's San Diego International Airport. 9 times out of 10, you get hit by a 747 and die. If you jump over this side over here, this is downtown San Diego. You'll probably get stabbed by a homeless guy or something of that nature. If you jump over here, that's like the Pacific Ocean. There are great whites out there. You're probably going to get eaten up. If you're going to escape, try and pick one of these 3 options. Because if you jump over that fence over there, that's where Marines are made. And they're freaking crazy. If you're going to escape, jump over one of these other 3 places, right?" So fast forward. Lo and behold, 2 of his sailors ended up climbing over the wall, over the Constantine wire. They took their dungarees, threw them over the Constantine wire, and climbed over onto MCRD San Diego side. There were 2 Marine doing interior guard there. Remember having to walk around doing interior guard?
Yeah.
They caught them, butt stroked them, freaking had them all tied up, whatever. MPs are calling my father, "What do you want to do with these guys?" My father said, "Keep them." So those 2 sailors had to go through Marine Corps boot camp for like 2 or 3 days. And when they came back, they had holes and their elbows were bleeding. They had holes in their pants and their knees were bleeding because they were doing the obstacle course and everything like that. When they came back, they were smiling like, "We are so glad we are back." Those freaking Marines are crazy.
That's a great story, man.
I mean, there was a whole lot. You should hear my father talk about this type of stuff. But anyway, so fast forward, he ends up getting me into understanding what a Marine actually was, because I didn't really know what a Marine was. And I joined our JROTC. It was Mount Miguel High School, which was Army. We would do training with them, and everywhere they went, because they're surrounded by Marine bases. This is in the 90s now. They're surrounded by Marine bases. Everywhere they went to train us, we were going out to Marine bases. So they're Army, but we're going out to Marine bases. And that just showed me the difference between Army and Marine Corps. I just fell in love with the Marine Corps, like, just aura. They were very pissed when I graduated high school and went into the Marine Corps. They wanted me to go into the Army. They matter of fact, they were like, "We're going to guarantee you like E4 or something." I was like, "Nope, don't want. I'm going into the Marines." It was like freaking waste. But went into the Marine Corps. I mean, I did drilling. I was part of the expeditionary expeditionary drill. So we call it the silent drill.
Drill team.
Yeah, so I was part of the drill team during my junior ROTC, and we went and did competitions at MCRD San Diego, and drill instructors were the ones that were inspecting us. So I mean, that type of influence, obviously, I was going to go into the Marine. So, and this is a little bit of a personal note. The first time, and one of the only times I ever saw my father misty-eyed. Remember? Oh, I haven't told you the history of him. The first and only time, or one of the only times, I graduate boot camp. He's there. He comes up to me, misty-eyed, and he says, "Son, the Marines saved my ass more than once in Vietnam. The least I can do is give him one of my sons."
Wow.
Now, let's go back to his history. He did 2 tours in Vietnam. He was in charge, or not in charge, he was designated as one of those PT boats that would drive Marine recon guys up and down the Mekong Delta into enemy territory and drop them off. Those little PT boats were the most armed vessels ever. I'm talking like double to quadruple 50 cal machine guns, M60s, all types of stuff. Some of the stories he used to tell me about what they used to do over there was insane. 2 tours. Matter of fact, one I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, he was sitting. He always during like Veterans Day or Memorial Day, he'll sit and he'll watch the History Channel. And one time he's sitting there watching the History Channel, and they start, all the way back, World War I, World War II, so on and so forth. Da, 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 da. Comes up to Vietnam, and they have a video of his ship, the USS Enterprise, sitting there. And then you see this little PT boat going up the Mekong Delta from the USS Enterprise, and he looks closer, and he sees 19-year-old himself on the back of that boat during that documentary going up the Mekong Delta.
No kidding.
You gotta be kidding me. He got on the phone, was trying to call, Discovery Channel, trying to get a copy of the VHS tape or whatever, and I think he ended up actually getting it. But can you imagine?
That's insane.
It's insane, right? I mean, to see the 19-year-old yourself at that point in your life, and that point in all of history, doing your thing, that's like looking through the looking glass in some aspects. It's insane. But yeah. So I graduate boot camp, right? I decide one of the things that I really wanted out of the Marine Corps was skills. And I'm not talking about marketable skills. I'm talking about survival skills, firearms, stuff that I put a high priority as far as learning. I mean, I really wanted those skills. And from hearing somebody else say it, I think if you really want to get taught how to survive, how to fight, how to defend, so on and so forth, you either join the Marines or the Army, and you will learn those skills. That was one of the things I really wanted to learn, and the Marine Corps did teach me that. But I also looked at the Marine Corps as a way of seeing the world. I spent 18 years in the United States. This was my philosophy. I spent 18 years in the United States. It's time for me to see the rest of the world. And the Marine Corps allowed me to actually do that. Outside of Canada and Mexico, I haven't seen any other part of the world. And I requested my first duty station to be Okinawa, Japan. So in 1996, I arrived here in Okinawa, Japan. And I'm telling you, it was just life altering. Just life altering. The culture actually, I stayed here and my first MOS, I was a diesel mechanic.
Okay.
That's why.
Yeah.
Because my father was not only a company commander, he ended up having to do a tour as a recruiter. So he knew all the ins and outs. He knew what recruiters would say and what they actually meant. So when I actually went to join the Marine Corps, which I signed up, like I had to get permission from my mother and my father. Dad literally signed, because I signed up really, really, really early. And I go in there gun ho. I'm like, I want infantry. My dad was like, no, you don't. I was like, Dad, I want these skills. This is what I want. I want infantry. He was like, son, you're joining the United States Marine Corps. If you want those skills, you're going to get them. If you want to go to combat, doesn't matter your MOS, you're going to get them. You're going into the United States Marine Corps, son. The best thing that you need to do right now is get a trade that you can market in the civilian world. And I was like, okay, Dad. So the recruiter comes, he says, okay, we got this. I take the ASVAB, scores high, whatever. was like, okay, but they were short on quotas. So they were like, you could be a diesel mechanic or there was some other choice. And I was like, you know what? Diesel mechanic. I'll be a diesel mechanic. So uh, I go to the schoolhouse at that time. I think, yes, the schoolhouse was in what was it? Camp Johnson, right outside of North Carolina.
No
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. The school for motor T mechanics, the school was at Camp Johnson, right next to
Okay.
Lejeune at that time frame. And I learned how to work on was it 5 tons at that time,
Mm-hmm.
Humvees of that generation, and like deuce and a half things of that nature. From there, go to Okinawa, '96. I'm there 6 months. They decided to make me a Dragon Master. So they sent me back to
All right. Explain what a Dragon Master is.
Okay, so
everybody knows.
I was watching some of your early episodes, and one of the gentlemen, I believe it was the Army gentleman,
Yeah.
our brothers on in our sister services over there was working on the Hemet, or he said I was learning how to drive Hemets. So the Marine Corps adopted, because all of our gear usually comes either from the Army or the Navy that they don't want, but the LVS was basically a Hemet that the Marine Corps took, and they literally modified a Hemet to our personal requirements. And back then we called them Dragon wagons. So they sent me back to become a Dragon Master to actually be able to work on these vehicles. And I was only in Okinawa for 6 months. In that 6 month time,
Wow.
Of living and actually exploring Okinawa, I did not realize this, but I got more polite. I didn't even realize this. I got so much more polite that by the time I got on the airplane and was coming back to the United States, I almost got into 3 fistfights in the airport in the United States because of I could literally detect now like the rudeness of Americans compared when you actually live in a country or are subjected to a whole country that has a different philosophy on how things and the community actually talks to each other and so on and so forth. When you leave that and you go back, I had reverse culture shock. I was like, is this really truly gum? And not this guy doesn't even want to help me, and it's his job to help me in the airport figure out where I'm supposed to go. And I was like, this is insane. I was like, wow. In 6 months, I got politer and was catching this type of stuff. So obviously, I go back as a Dragon Master. So I was stationed with 7th Communications, 7th Com at that time. I did a tour with the 31st Mu. That's the Marine Expeditionary Unit. That is the only continuously operating Marine Expeditionary Unit out there floating, like literally all the time, every day. I did 6 months with them. Came back, extended to stay in Okinawa, and then ended up having to leave in like 98. So when I left in 98, I met my wife, by the way, in 96.
Okay.
I literally met my wife and I was dating my wife in 96. And we stayed together from 96 till now. It's almost been 30 years. So
now, did you get married while you were over there?
Not at that time. When I came back, we were already planning it. So in 98, I ended up having to leave. I ended up getting stationed with 8th Motors, which ended up switching over to 8th TSB. It was over there in French Creek in Camp Lejeune. From there, I ended up going on to a thing called CCSD. I ended up going on to CCSD 68, and I think that was Combined Support. I cannot detachment. I forgot what it was, but CSSD actually stands for. But it was part of the only bridge company in the Marine Corps.
Oh, okay.
At that time, and we had a mission to go to Honduras because El Nino just went through Honduras at that time and totally tore that place up. Same thing with Puerto Rico. So we ended up getting pushed to Honduras. Now I'm the only mechanic out there. I was, I think, Land School PFC, something like that. And they sent me out there with some tools, no parts, a whole bunch of vehicles to take care of. I had to use ingenuity to actually keep those vehicles running. But go over there for like 10 months. And that was a beautiful country. I mean, we did a lot of Bill Clinton, Honorable Bill Clinton actually came out there and cut one of the ribbons on the bridge that we built.
Oh, wow.
I remember that was right after the scandal that was happening. That part. And then when I see the guy coming in, I was looking at him. He's big. I mean, I didn't know he was as tall as he was, and what I can remember, his head was huge. But anyway, he comes over there. Here's another thing as far as this is a small world. So one of the villages that we were working on in there, I'll fast forward. Just remember, there's a tie-in.
Okay.
I'll fast forward to that part later. So in Honduras, we did a whole bunch of things. Built bridges, helped get the Hondurans back on their feet in some aspects. Total different. I mean, beautiful place. Pretty dangerous. That was the first time that I saw guys with AK-47s guarding gas stations. And the reason why they were guarding gas stations is because those places would get robbed all the time. We were the only ones. So the Air Force was there. We were on Certicano Air Force Base. And the difference between the Air Force and the Marines was like night and day. I mean, and the Hondurans knew that. Our history echoes for eternity. So the things that the Marines did 80 years ago over there in that area, the Hondurans remembered. We were not allowed to be out of uniform, and everywhere we went, we had to be conditioned trade with our rifles. But while we were walking down the streets, Marines would walk down the middle of the street, and everybody would part like the Red Sea. Air Force would walk, Army would walk down the street, they'd get bumped, no respect whatsoever. When they saw that Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, they knew just the utmost amount of respect.
Wow. And that's really cool.
Just the way we were brought up. I mean, I remember having to sit there. We had our packs, and now I'm on gear guard, right? It was only like maybe 27 of us. We're on gear guard, right? Oh man, I got a good story about this one. Anyway, I'm on gear guard. PFC got my M16A2, and an Air Force officer walks up and says, "Hey, what if one of these kids runs up here and tries to grab one of your packs? Are you going to shoot him?" And I was like, "Oh no, sir. I'll probably butt stroke him or something of that nature, and get my Marine's pack back. But if he grabs one of these rifles, I would have to, I would do what I have to do." And he was like, "Good to go." One of the air sirens go off. Now these guys, like the Air Force, they're living in bungalows. I mean, they're living like luxury.
Yeah.
We were sleeping in a field in the middle of the base. One of the air sirens actually goes off, and then we don't know. I mean, it's an air siren. So we do a hasty 360 perimeter. We're guns out. I got my sector of fire. And I was like, and the Air Force guys are just walking. I was like, "Get the hell out of my sector of fire," because we don't know what's coming. I mean, we were hearing gunshots and everything like nights before and everything. I mean, Honduras was nice, but it was rough. I mean, you hear things that it's like, man, is there a war going on out there? But anyway, they were total different mentality. I have the utmost respect for the Navy. The Seabees? Because those dudes came in when we were sleeping in the mud, and we were happy to sleep in the mud. I mean, it's just what Marines do. We sleep in the mud, whatever. Those dudes came in, saw how we were living, and they built us a tent or a barracks out of wood within like 3 days. Like literally 3 days. They came in and just Boop, 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 boop. Lovely. I was like, man, these guys are efficient. And that was the first time I ever saw a M16A3, matter of fact.
Oh, really?
A3?
No, I haven't. No.
Looks exactly like an A2, but their selector switch, they have, semi-automatic, and then when they switch, instead of having a 3-round burst, theirs goes full auto.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's the difference between the A2 and the A3. I was like,
wow,
serious. And the A1s were fully automatic as well. So I think the A3, they decided to switch back over to a fully automatic and semi. But yeah, that was the first time I ever saw an A3. So, oh yeah. What else happened there? Oh, I'll get to it. So let's fast forward a couple of years later. So I'm sitting at CLR 3, CLR 1. So that's was that Combat Logistics Regiment 1 under the Blue Diamond in Pendleton. Years later, I'm a master sergeant or gunnery sergeant about to be promoted to master sergeant. There's a staff sergeant, female staff sergeant in there. And she was, I forgot what her MOS was, but I was like doing whatever. I was acting first sergeant, doing whatever, and we started talking. Come to find out, she's from Honduras. I was like, really? What? And she was like, oh, yeah, by Certical Air Force Base. I was like, really? She was like, yeah, the reason why I joined the Marines was because when El Nino hit, they sent Marines over there when I was a kid, and they came to my village. They gave me candy. And they, and I was like, I'm going to be a Marine one day. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? That was me. That was me. I mean, it was only 27 of us, and we went everywhere in the group. I was like, are you kidding me? Small world, man. Small
world. Kidding.
Yeah. Literally, she was a little kid. But you know how MOS is all of a sudden, or the change in the Marine Corps, they started promoting fast. I mean, when I first came in the Marine Corps in 95, it was expected for you to re-enlist, do one more year, and then pick up corporal.
Wow.
But yeah, that's just how it was, specifically at certain MOSs, but as far as Marine Corps. But we have such a high turnover rate as far as Marines getting out, not staying in, or what have you, to where they had to start putting. I mean, I was shocked when someone said that NCO got in trouble for underage drinking. Because here's my logic. How is he underage if he's a corporal? You join at 18, 20, 21, 22, then you re-enlist. You're at least 23 years old before you become a corporal. How did he get busted? How is he a corporal at 19 years old? They started promoting that quick. So when I started looking at it and doing the math, I was, she was a kid. When I was a PFC, she was literally a kid in there. She grew up, came into the Marine Corps, was staff sergeant. I was like, you got to be freaking good. Yeah. There's a couple other times that things like that has happened. I was like, are you kidding me? I was there. I was there at the same time. Man. But anyway, so while I'm in Honduras, now, I got my hat's off to anybody in the motor team, like MOS, specifically for the Marines, because I mean it's a very unappreciated job. The deadline never disappears. All right, I mean you're always working on these vehicles, and you're always trying to fix them. You can fix that vehicle today, and the next day it's in here for something else. You're always short parts. You have to get those parts, those vehicles up, or it degrades your combat readiness for your whole unit. So I'm the only mechanic. I'm a PFC, and I'm trying to do the job that, per the TM manual, says it takes 2 Marines to do. To put a starter in a Humvee requires 2 Marines. I'm in here doing it myself, so I'm holding up the starter with one knee. right? And it's flooded. So I'm on my back. I'm holding up the starter with one knee. I'm trying to put the spacer between the thing so I can actually get the bolts in. And there's water because it's flooded. There's water up to my ear here. So I have to go underwater to get the bolt to actually do this. And the only thing running through my mind at that point right there is, did the driver remember to disconnect the battery?
Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. If he didn't disconnect the battery, I'm about to fry myself. And at that second, a drowned fruit bat floats by me. I had an epiphany at that point. I was like, I am going to lap move. I am going to lap move. So I reenlisted. I decided that I was going to go, at that time, I was going to go into NBC, which was nuclear, biological, chemical warfare defense. And I didn't really know too many people that were in it. But every time I went into their office, either they were in there just talcum powder and gloves or something of that nature, messing around with masks, but they didn't do too much that I knew of. And I was like, oh my God, I can get this MOS and go to college, just do college work and just sit in the back and fix masks and talcum powder gloves and put people in the gas chamber and make them choke. That's all these guys doing. That's all their job is, right? Easy. I was like, why do you need such a high GT score to go to this thing? It doesn't make any sense. Until I went to the school. The things that they were teaching us makes you not want to go to sleep at night. Things that are out there and what actually happens, the chemical, the biological, the radiological hazards or weapons, the mad scientists that are creating these things that should have never been created in the first freaking place. And then you got these scientists that are trying to figure out ways of defeating the Western's defenses against certain agents, to where they have chemical agents that'll eat through your canister. All types of things. Yeah, that a lot of the class things that were taught like keeps me up at night. Used to keep me up at night. And I'm not even talking about nuclear weapons. I'm not even talking about thermonuclear warfare. It opened my eyes, but the money, I ended up doing like a case study or like a little personal like thing to find out how much money the Marine Corps actually spent on my education. And by the time I was finished with that school, and I look back and I went all the way back to boot camp, I went to MCT, I went to, that school and everything, I estimated about $850,000 was spent on my education in these schools.
Wow.
And I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. That's how much of an asset. If you actually look at our MOS in the Marine Corps, tiny. We're one of the smallest MOSs in there. Matter of fact, when I was a master sergeant, I think there was only 13 of us in the Marine Corps. If I would have made it to master guns, there was six. Six in the whole of the Marine Corps. Same thing on the officer side. And the funny thing about the Marine Corps, if you look at the equivalent in the Army, what the Marine Corps was doing, how many Seaburn guys do you usually see at a unit? Maybe two, right?
Yeah.
You'll see like chief officers and a staff NCO or a staff NCO and a sergeant, and they're working the COC, the Combat Operations Center or the Command Operating Center, right?
Yep.
All the responsibilities that those two Marines are supposed to be able to do in that Combat Operating Center, if you look at the equivalent in the Army, they have 12.
Oh, wow.
They literally 12. Like 4 officers and the rest enlisted that do that job. And we go to the same school, except for, our school, as far as Marine Corps school, is a little bit more, I wouldn't say high speed, it's just it overlaps a lot of different things. In the Army, they would have an MOS that just did decon. Like literally, all they do is decon.
Yeah.
They don't do monitor survey. They don't do, COC, like downward hazard predictions and all this other stuff. That is what we were. We had to do the whole umbrella in the Marine Corps. And it was because we just the bodies for that. They have to understand the sizes. They have chemical cores in the Army.
Oh, wow.
Marine Corps, they have chemical cores. Pretty much the same size as us, if I'm not mistaken, as a whole. So I was like, man, big difference. But anyway, so from there, where did I stop off at? Where was I? Okay, so
right, yeah.
I really that move. Went to I was one of the first guys to go through the new school that was in Fort Leonardwood, Missouri.
Yeah.
Because the school over there. And I asked for orders to get back to Okinawa. And as soon as I came back to Okinawa, I was with 3rd Marine Division. From there, been a corporal, newly minted corporal. They needed a corporal, a CBR or a MBC at that time. Corporal at 12th Marines. 12th Marines is artillery regiment. They are a different group of Marines. They have their own like history and like traditions. As far as they're all part of what do you call it? Like they have a god of projectiles in some aspects. So put it this way, when a artilleryman dies, he does not go to heaven. He goes to Fiddler's Green. Did you know that?
Okay.
They celebrate St. Barbara's Day. They have model picture. They literally have a history that predates, obviously, the Marine Corps or military, like modern military, all the way back to ancient times, to where guys were using catapults or trebuchets and stuff of that nature. So, yeah, that was. I learned a lot.
Well, they also you get indoctrinated or whatever. You have to get to St. Barbara, and they have a big celebration, and it's a big deal. Yeah.
So, since I was not an 08, I couldn't do that, but I had now. Forgive me if this is like triggering for anybody I had my cherry popped, which is basically you're able to fire off. You actually have to prepare a 155 round. You actually put it in the breech. You do all that stuff. You put the what do you call it? The primer in there. You know, and back then the 155 rounds. I mean, they had like bags, white bags. Yeah. And then you had red bags as well. But you had these white bags that had to be counted as far as what charge you were actually going to put in there. You put them in there. They had these little crystals on it, and when they actually compress them, it would actually crack those crystals, and then pow, whatever. But anyway, after you fire that round, then you pull out the primer, and you have to bite it, and you have to drink the grog, which is basically what they swab the freaking barrel out of, all the whatever it's on. So I have that somewhere in my long-term storage where I bit the primer. I did it there. So, but yeah. But then they have the Order of St. Barbara's. Matter of fact, a gentleman that I work with, I'm gonna try to leave names out of it because I didn't tell him I was going to do this podcast or anything like that. So I have a gentleman that I work with that was 12th Marines as well, and then his OPSO is actually 12th Marines at some time as well. And those guys are like the Order of St. Barbara's. They are literally like the high order, like it's a serious thing. Those guys take that very seriously. Rich for that. So I go to 12th Marines. I started at 312, and then I ended up at 12th Marines Regiment.
Oh, hey, real quick question. You said you went to Okinawa. You were dating this whole time. Did you get married?
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't get married yet. So
Oh, okay.
So a whole year goes by. We're still dating, long term, like long distance dating, and I get orders back to Okinawa. I get back to Okinawa. We get married in 2001. I
Okay.
was actually with the Marines, matter of fact, when that actually happens. Um, and then September 11th actually happens in 2001, right? I was living outside of Courtney, base Courtney over here. And before anything happened, before I even knew what was going on, I could see from my apartment, the front gate of Courtney, they had 7 tons out there with 50 cows mounted on.
Oh,
That's
wow.
not normal. They had sandbags, everything. I was like, they're at Con Delta. What the hell is going on? I turn on the TV and I see the second plane actually. No, I see the first plane crash, and I was like, man, what the hell's going on? That's a horrible accident. When that second plane crashed, I looked at my wife. I literally looked at her and I said, "We're going to war." And I got out of my apartment and I ran across to go on base, showed my ID card because back then it wasn't like cell phones were like really really big or they had flip phones or whatever. I had to call back to the States. I was supposed to go to the call center or at least the barracks if you knew the number,
Yeah.
the international thing, and dial the what was it 01101, so on and so forth. And I couldn't get. Remember, my family, my mom side, where my mom lives, she went back to Patterson, New Jersey. She was a nurse there. That's 15 minutes away from the George Washington Bridge. I mean, that's literally right there. Her being a nurse, they actually called her up. They had to go to New York to actually start working and helping with what was happening at the Twin Towers and stuff. But as soon as I called, all the lines were busy. I couldn't even call over there to find out what else. I didn't find out until later that the Pentagon was hit or that other plane actually went down because people figured out what was going on and subdued them. So, but yeah, I mean, that was that was a time that just I've been
So
angry
what
before.
was the yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I've been angry before, but I can't remember a time that I was more like game on. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, it's about to get real fast. I had already had my pack packed. I was ready. And then everybody was up on alert. Matter of fact, that's right. We ended up going to Kadena Air Force Base, like because the unit ended up getting a call, and we sat on the tarmac, fully kitted out for like 12 hours.
No kidding.
Because we were expecting to be called to get on some like a C-130 and go someplace. Have no idea where. I don't know what was happening, but then that ended up getting called off. Didn't know what the plan was. I just knew we were about to do something.
Right.
Yeah. So
what was being in Okinawa at that point in time? What was it like with the Okinawans and then the American military? Like, how was that relationship at that point?
I would say, at that point, are we talking about during
like
September
after 9/11? Like, well, I guess before and then after 9/11. It's like, what was the difference?
Nothing really changed. So the Okinawans, and this is me speaking, second person. I can't, the Okinawans are very stalwart people. They've been through a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's just like they never bat an eye. They're like, we do what we have to do. They're always polite. I've never seen like this anti-American type thing. Okay, take a look at. Can you see the shirt that I'm wearing right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is an Okinawan shirt. Literally part of their culture. It's called kawahushi wear. All right, I wear it out of respect of their culture because I live in their culture. This is almost like a silent way of saying that I respect your culture. When in Rome, do like the Romans. When in Rome, dress like the Romans. As long as you show any people, specifically Okinawans or whatever country that you visit, a level of respect for their culture, you would be surprised how much they actually open up to you and how much they actually accept you.
Very
I
true.
mean, you can butcher their language, but if you're giving an attempt, showing an attempt to try to speak it out of respect of being in their country, they will sit there for 15 minutes when all you're trying to do is ask for a cup of coffee, and they know all you're trying to do is ask for a cup of coffee. They will sit there patiently and help you say how to request a cup of coffee in Japanese. No problem.
Wow.
So
That's the exact opposite of the American culture.
you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 90s, like I said, I was here 6 months, and being exposed to something like that for 6 months when I went back to the States, reverse culture shock. I was like, did that just happen? Why didn't I see that before? It was almost like in boot camp. When I graduated boot camp in 95, I didn't realize how many Americans were actually fat. I didn't realize that because I mean, and you know, I didn't have those goggles on. So I 3 months of boot camp and everything, and then we're at graduation. I'm sitting there, parade rest, and I'm looking out in the crowd, and I was like, Jesus Christ, man, these people are fat.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to what I was looking at, or how I didn't see that before. It's just like, I don't know. It's just there are certain things that will change your whole perspective or just give you a whole different lens to look through. And the Marine Corps is one of them. But
Yeah.
traveling and living in a whole different country will give you a whole different lens to view the rest of the world, or your part of the world, or your understanding of how things. Another thing that's just shocking. It was shocking to me back then. Right now, I was like, yeah, that it's just what it is. It's just knowledge. We as Marines or even Americans are, 1775, 1774. Oh, we've been here a long time. Just, back in 1770, I came to this country here or this island. My wife can track her lineage back to the time that Jesus Christ was born. She can
Wow.
literally track her lineage back. All of her ancestors are buried right freaking there. You know what I'm saying? Past 2,000 years ago. So when we're talking about actual history, and then you start getting into the Japanese, but specifically Eastern Asia, like China,
Mm-hmm.
that predates everything, like literally. So I started when I started going to college here, University of Maryland. My bachelor's degree was East Asian Studies with an emphasis on Japan. And when we
Mm-hmm.
actually had to start studying about China, as far as their history, I don't know too many cultures that when you go to study that culture, you have to go to prehistoric times. You understand? It's not like, oh, okay, well, back in, 1492. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
You study China, you went to before time was actually dated.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about like Jama man or like Peking man and like fossilized freaking people that were hundreds of thousands of years old. I was like, holy crap. And then their culture, I mean, they were running economics and having cultures while the Western society in Europe were still living in caves. It was insane how far their history actually goes back.
Yeah.
It's humbling. It's like we're the new kids on the block. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you really imagine how the world looks at the United States when we're sitting here? We're the strongest. Obviously, we are, no doubt. But I mean, we've only been here. We haven't even been here 300 years. We haven't
Yeah,
even been
man.
here 300 years.
Yeah.
Look at the Roman Empire compared to us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we thought the Roman Empire was going to last. We've only been here 300 years.
Yep.
Either slow down or, hey, check your freaking attitude, man. You could be here today and gone tomorrow. So it's just like another thing in Afghanistan that was just shocking to me. And then when I started traveling in Jordan and places of that nature, they view history differently than we do. I'm not talking about like historical facts. I'm talking about time wise. In Afghanistan, if you talk to an Afghani, it's like when you start talking about who was it? Alexander the Great. Mm-hmm. They talk to you as if Alexander the Great just happened to maybe 20 years ago. When really? Alexander Afghanistan, yeah. It's just like, yeah, back when this happened, it was like, dude, that was like a long time. To them, it wasn't.
Wow.
You see, when I was in Jordan, and I literally, I mean, I was walking in places that Jesus Christ actually walked. Mm-hmm. I'm not Catholic, but I was just in awe that the Bible, the Testament, something that's like one of the oldest testaments that we actually have, is written about the areas that I'm walking right now. And when I'm looking at these areas, they look as if Jesus Christ would just appear and walk out of it. The same cattle or the same area that, you'll see a cattle farmer, or not even cattle, like a sheep farmer, walk across the dirt road. That dirt road was exactly the same as that dirt road that Jesus Christ walked. There was no progress. It's like literally, this is biblical. It was like, this is like if it was biblical times. Nothing.
You know what hit me with, speaking about that was when I was going in Iraq. And as we're going through the desert, I look over and there's a goat farmer or goat herder, whatever. And he's literally, he's got this staff and he's, directing them and they're following him and the whole thing. And that's just like biblical times. And I was like, oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah, nothing has shifted. They view time totally different than us.
Yeah.
Totally different. And then Iraq, Iraq was what was the name of Iraq before it was Iraq? What was it? Persia?
Was it Persia?
Yeah, it's Mesopotamia. Literally, it is ancient. That is the cradle of civilization. Is ancient.
Yeah, that's insane. Hey, I think it's a good place to pause for part one. And then we'll jump back in and do part two. But we'll go ahead and close this one out. Is that good with you?
Oh, that's good. That's good. I don't know if I gave you what you were asking for, but
no, this is perfect. And are you kidding me? No, this is great. All right, let me go ahead and close this one out. To all the listeners out there, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hearing Jamil's story, at least part one of it. Be sure to come back for part two for sure. But if you're a veteran and you're out there and you're struggling, you're thinking about hurting yourself, something of that nature, there's always a way to talk to somebody that can help you out. You can dial 988, press option 1. That's going to put you in contact with somebody that can help you. If you don't want to do that and you'd rather text, you can text 838-255. Same type of thing. They're going to be able to put you in contact with somebody that can help you. Or if you would rather get online and chat online, some of the younger folks like to do that. But you can go to veteranscrisisline.net, click that chat icon, and then same thing, somebody from the VA is going to be there to help you out. But one veteran life loss is one too many. So please, please, please go get the help. I care about you. Jamil cares about you. And all the veteran community cares about you as well. So please reach out. To Jamil, thank you one more time for coming on. And to all the listeners out there, stay motivated, change your socks.